Previously on Dino Fury.
Personally, I'm a man of science.
All right then, Dr. Arsehole, how does your science explain what we just saw?
Now, you see, it can be one of two things. One, you've got what looks like a ghost, but it's science.
Ooh.
And now an awkward family reunion.
Alright, let's wrap this up, shall we? Part 4 of my reaction to Linkara's History of Power Rangers Dino Fury. As you can see, I got the right shirt for the occasion. Also, if you can get the reference that this t-shirt is making, let me know in the comments. Also, I got some popcorn, so let's not waste any time. Let's just jump right in. We're about to get into the finale of Dino Fury, so let's yeah, I know, I'm just stalling now. Let's get to it.
This leads us into our finale, the Nemesis. Bringing Tarek back to the command henge, they work on the theory that if the revelation about Amelia cured him, it might allow Void Queen to let go of her hatred too, since she's basically running on a hope for revenge over the supposed death of her child. With the remaining Sporix destroyed, the Rafkonians are told to evacuate as well, and our heroes go to the cocoon. Amelia can't get close enough to it to link minds with her, and they can't wait for her to emerge without everything going boom, so they go for the next best plan. Zato in the Dino Knight armor hopefully protecting him as he gets in close enough to teleport the cocoon away. However, Tarek volunteers instead.
You and your team are still needed for what will be the biggest battle of your lives. Let me do this for you.
He succeeds, the cocoon safely exploding in a more deserted area. Tarek survived, but the Dino Knight morpher is destroyed. Nearby is what Void Queen describes as the Nemesis Beast. She didn't actually transform in the cocoon, instead of just creating the giant creature before them. The amalgamation of all the Sporix. That she operates like an organic Zord.
Yeah.
The Rangers summon all their Zords, but she's still too powerful for them. The Zords get taken down, so the Rangers teleport into the sky above her and drop down, hoping to get Amelia close enough to her.
This
is actually a really cool ending fight. The Rangers fighting henchmen on the Nemesis itself before eventually getting knocked off. Real Shadow of the Colossus stuff right here. Amelia gets close, but is knocked away without getting close enough. With no other options, Zato elects to use the mutually assured destruction setting on the Dino Master Saber, defeating the Nemesis Beast. Void Queen survives, but Amelia finally manages to grab her arm and reveal the truth to her. She lets go of her hatred.
You're my mom.
Oh, that's nice. Still kind of a bummer that Zato's dead, but wouldn't you know it? The king of Deus Ex Machina shows up. With the Sporix' power drained, they're able to store them safely and away from the rest of the universe. The Rangers beg the Morphin Masters to bring Zato back, but they simply say that he's part of the grid now, a piece of him forever being with them all. Mucus also survives, somehow, crawling away from the battle. We cut to 6 months later, where the Rangers are helping the Rafkonians set up their new colony in Area 62. Centaura's pregnant with a sister for Amelia, and apparently the actress was actually pregnant in real life during this bit, so neat. Ion has set up a restaurant serving genuine Rafkonian cooking. And I guess people know he's a Ranger now, or at least he revealed his alien nature as he serves Jane and Jayborg, who say they're going to be opening a new office for Buzz Ballyhoo in Angel Grove. A poster shows that Mucus and Slither took on human forms and are now operating a circus. Solon summons the Rangers back to Dino Henge as something is pushing past their defenses. Amelia thinks it's a ghost.
Sorry, but I'm no ghost.
I mean, you kind of are, dead man. He explains that the Morphin Masters reconstituted his form to rejoin them, and that he has a mission for them. Lord Zed has escaped. Dino Fury is a very interesting season, if a bit uneven. I think the fan base may have overhyped it a bit. Not that it isn't a great series, it's one of the best, especially Season 2, but Season 1 is where it kind of struggled. Season 1 is actually fairly pedestrian as far as Ranger seasons go. We get plenty of good character-focus episodes, and one of the biggest strengths of the season is that indeed the character-focus episodes pay off big time, but as a result, it often feels like there isn't a lot of forward momentum with the plot. The reveal of Void Knight's motivation is the biggest piece of plot development we get in 20 episodes. Even Zed's return feels a little stilted and unimpressive given what should be a massive turning point. One of the biggest bads in the series' history coming back, yet you wouldn't necessarily get that impression watching that episode. Season 2, however, is where things really hit the ground. Centaura's development into Void Queen, Void Knight's betrayal, the Zed arc, the finale, just a bunch of really strong storylines that culminate in a very well-paced, well-performed, exciting finale. You need Season 1 because it sets the stage for everything that comes in Season 2, but it can feel like Season 1 is a bit of a drag to get us to the good bits. Zed's return arc in Season 2 is pretty phenomenal. Like I said, it felt like in the year between Old Foes and Love-Hate, they worked out the bugs on him, improved his voice, he was more cunning, and his plan was pretty damn good and successful, even blowing up a planet in the process. He was exactly the threat he was supposed to be, managing to outfight or outwit the Rangers, who needed an outside force to help save the day. Hell, he even does some mind control, doing that old corruption of the good guys thing that he did so often in Season 2. The Zed arc wasn't originally part of the series, but something they decided to add in when the season was changed from 22 episodes to 44. The Hasbro brand office suggesting bringing back Zed in particular, probably to promote a toy or two. And for something that was added in later, it definitely ended up working pretty well. The Void family's arc is also pretty spectacular. Void Knight starting out as a simple, I want power for the sake of power, discovering his true motives are more noble, only to twist things on their head by revealing that the woman he loves is actually worse than him and cares more for her revenge than the man she loves. And finally, them only getting defeated when they learn that the reason for their revenge doesn't actually apply. The tragedy of their backstory is also very well hidden and unexpectedly ties into Amelia's. Area 62 and Amelia's lost parents are just elements that simmer in the background, but there aren't massive hints spelled out for the audience that would connect them right away. And when it all comes together, it does make sense and connects back to the plot about the Rafkonians becoming space nomads. I like how the plot of the villains is mirrored in the other Rafkonians, who only stop their evil plans when they see compassion and goodness. It's great narrative cohesion in the themes of your work. I know I've gone off on rants and ramblings about what universes everything takes place in, but it is fun to think about how a colony of Rafkonians could also help contribute to the Earth of SPD, where humanity is a part of the galactic community. And oh crap, we're 2 years away from that future at the time of this writing. We better start changing our fashion sense to match. Or maybe they'll retcon it as the dating system of the future being revised to match the rest of the universe, so 2025 to them is actually closer to 2137 or something. Or they'll just ignore it entirely, because why be beholden to the continuity of a series that aired 20 years ago and the target audience didn't watch it? Isn't that right, nostalgic villain from 30 years ago? I kid. Even if SPD isn't acknowledged by then, it just means I have something to joke about in whatever series we get in 2025. Say, you hear about that 30th anniversary special that's coming soon? A lot of interesting behind-the-scenes photos. What hurt the show plot-wise were the more grounded comedy subplots revolving around Jane and Jayborg. We have this big plot about Lord Zed going to Rafkon and threatening to blow it up if he amasses the power to create new Sporix beasts. I know, let's switch back to an office Nerf war at Buzz Bolaris. I actually would have been fine with this subplot if it wasn't in the Lord Zed episodes, because, hey, Nerf wars are fun. I've been in a few. Jane and Jayborg, despite being the ones who run and manage this apparently huge social media site, are frequently reporters and presenters themselves on basic clickbaity videos that would make Hallmark's craptastic YouTube channel sigh in embarrassment. It also sometimes feels like Jane's character is at odds with what they establish about her. The first episode, the supernatural does not exist, stop asking for stories about it. A few episodes later, she goes to see a carnival psychic and instantly believes in it. The job of running the place is incredibly difficult and stressful, to the point that she needs a robot assistant, and then she does the jobs of other people or sends a said assistant to do those jobs. Sometimes the subplots won't actually get resolution. We have the setup for it, maybe a follow-up later, and then it's completely forgotten about. In the aforementioned psychic encounter, she is literally put on a bus and then never addressed again. Apparently this comes down to how the show is filmed. Fight scenes are handled by second unit filming and dialogue stuff done by main unit. It's consequently why the show has had less civilian fights. As Simon Bennett put it in a tweet, if the cast is filming civilian fights, there's nothing for the main unit to film other than the comedy duo stuff. But the comedy duo stuff is just not necessary.
No, it's
sometimes it's funny, sometimes it feels
I
more
don't-
like
I
fetish
never
fuel.
thought it was
And as I
funny.
discussed in past
Never did.
seasons, comedy subplots with Power Rangers tend to work better when it's assholes getting their comeuppances,
Yeah.
not otherwise well-meaning people getting confused or screwed over through no fault of their own.
Yeah.
I don't know, maybe I'd personally enjoy them more if the comedy was more based on wit and wordplay rather than slapstick, because while Jane and Jayborg aren't bad at what they do, slapstick really
No,
requires a
I
lot
honestly
more
think
work
they're
on
bad.
timing setup and the physicality to make it as funny as it can be, and they're just not really that up to it, in my
No.
opinion. Now, Jane's actress, Cora Josephson, does actually possess physicality, as she's a professional tap dancer and choreographer, which they actually did
Really?
incorporate into an episode once. And
Oh,
she
yeah,
posted
they
some
did.
behind-the-scenes videos on her Instagram, which just feels like it's not as good as it should be. Oh, and amusingly, apparently Olivia Tennant, who played Dr. K in RPM, also is a professional choreographer and planned out both the tap sequence and that weird-ass dance sequence last season from Beast Morphers.
Really?
Kudos if true. Another aspect of the show that was unfortunately a bit weak was the acting for our heroes. It never gets as bad as, say, Troy and
I
Megaforce,
mostly
but Russell
disagree.
Curry as Zato started as not convincing and ended as only mostly convincing. There's just a chipperness to his voice that he had difficulty making sound natural. He was good in sad, emotional moments, but in casual conversation, he sounded awkward. That might be the idea, what with him being an alien separate from humanity, but it just came across as stilted. Jordan Fights Ion also just had this kind of weird whispery tone to his voice that I personally found annoying. I was gonna say Hunter Dino and Chance Perez as a
That ice cream man, I just remembered. He's the same actor that played Deacon in the movie version of What We Do in the Shadows. I'll probably loop it back. Yep, there he is. Same guy. Deacon. Oh my god. I just remembered the next season of What We Do in the Shadows, the TV show, is going to be its last one. Oh, well, I guess it's like that saying from The Dark Knight. You either die a hero or you live long enough to see yourself become the villain. Anyway, back to this.
Amelia and Javi, respectively, were also a bit flat, but honestly, they were pretty good too.
I
But the
liked
writers
them.
gave them a chance to have some variety
Obviously,
in the
I
emotions
liked
they needed to
Hunter
convey.
Dino
Whenever
for
Amelia's heart sank, you could see it in her face.
reasons.
Let me tell you something, though. Kai Moya as Ollie was good, but Tessa Rao as Izzy was phenomenal.
Yes.
She's the second youngest of the cast
yes.
after Jordan Fight, though obviously played the youngest, the only character who was still in high school. But
Yeah.
she was very clearly the most talented actress among the group, always
100%.
sounding natural, making every line convincing, and portraying a wide range of emotions. Just an honest-to-God great find for the show. Our other secondary cast included, of course, Ollie's mom, who did good with her material, but the more recurring
Also, you know, when I saw behind the scenes interviews with them, I had no idea that Tessa Rao was from New Zealand. Like, her American accent is so convincing that when I saw, like, interviews with the cast online, I'm like, wait, she's actually from New Zealand? I had no idea. Like her accent for Izzy is so convincing that, like, I had no idea that she wasn't American. So, props to her. I'll talk more about her later on, but yeah, shout out to her.
character was Ranger Garcia. Garcia was apparently originally written to be a sheriff, but the Black Lives Matter movement was at its most prominence at the time of writing and filming, causing them to realize maybe we shouldn't have a cop as a supporting character right now. Unfortunately,
Yeah,
the end
that's
result
fair.
is that the law enforcement hierarchy of this town is confusing, because we do see actual cops, and they
Yeah.
apparently report to the park warden. Don't screw with the DNR in this town, people. They hold all the cards. He also possesses an arc, starting off as a standard aggressive parental figure, both for living vicariously through his daughter's accomplishments and being judgmental of his son's seeming aimlessness in life post-high school. He does become fully supportive of Javi once it's clear that him becoming more versed in multiple instruments is not something he's doing for funsies, but because it legitimately builds his skills as a musician. That being said, Garcia was still a major asshole when he took his son's keytar, which he spent his own money on, not his dad's, and says he'll return it because Javi just buys instruments to try. That being said, he does not completely shed himself of the living vicariously thing, as he takes photos of himself with his son's trophy at the end of The Copycat.
Oh, yeah.
Ion's story boils down to ego. He's overconfident, sure of himself, and expresses a lot of selfishness in his actions and activities. Not only is his re-emergence into the present day about being told by a godlike figure that he's essentially a chosen one, the guy who will stop Lord Zed, but thanks to him being the one who objected to the Sporix plan while Zato embraced it, that he is a better leader. Time and again we see him wanting the spotlight and prestige of being the leader or benefits of his actions, but needs to be taken down a peg and reminded that you do the right thing because it's the right thing. By the time we get to him actually taking on Zed, he needed to learn that just because his actions are critical to stopping the Emperor of Evil doesn't mean he's doing it alone. He's also kind of obsessed with food as a comic relief quirk. Zato, of course, ties in with Ion's story because of their shared history. Unfortunately, Zato's arc is probably the weakest of the show, since his character beats are focused primarily on plot-related circumstances rather than on emotional ones. He's pleasant and tries his best to embrace Earth culture, but his story overall is his quest to find Rafkon and his people again. However, his eagerness to reunite with his people only has one focus, where it's about character development, phoning home, when he takes someone's word that they're from Rafkon, and it turns out to be Slyther in disguise. His over-eagerness to reunite with his own kind almost cost them everything. And hey, when the Rafkonian refugee shows up, he's learned from his mistake and uses his telepathy to confirm their identities first. Still, at least we get recurring moments of angst from him about not knowing where his people and home are. Admittedly, it feels more like something that just bums him out on occasion as opposed to any really strong sad moments, but it's at least something that they come back to more than once. Honestly, I feel like we should have also had more time to focus on Zato and Ion having survivor's guilt. It's kind of brought up in Waking Nightmare, where they have to fight phantoms of their past teammates, but there's nothing that angsty about the situation, and it isn't dwelled on. Javi's arc ties into his father most. He's a musician, liking to try out multiple instruments, and yet can't seem to settle on a single one. That annoys his father most, that he comes across as directionless and not doing anything with his life. Still, that relationship comes to a head in Jam Session, where Garcia expects his son to show up and support him when he's receiving a medal, but instead he ends up getting recruited to perform in a band. Garcia is pissed about him not showing up to support him, but Javi turns it around and points out that his father refuses to support him in his activities. Still, once the warden sees what he was doing, he realizes that his son was right and supports him in his music career. And hey, it's what he wanted out of Javi. He wasn't against him playing music, he just wanted to settle on something and go with it. But that gets turned around as well. In The Copycat, a disgraced singer plagiarizes one of Javi's songs for a contest at Buzz Belladonna, and he strikes back by performing a song utilizing multiple instruments, elevating his performance and showing off his skills in them. Amelia's main arc is about her parents, but it's not really something dwelled upon. While she of course has beliefs in superstition and the supernatural, it's not until later that we learn that her belief in such things stemmed from having lost said parents under mysterious circumstances. It's her way of trying to rationalize and seek out answers from what could have been a random freak accident. Admittedly, as we discover later, her parentage is something to do with aliens and the like, but that part is not hinted at all until the end of the series. And while normally I might be annoyed by that, I'm not. Too often in Power Rangers, they make those kinds of twists very obvious, and most kids can put two and two together. But they held off and let it be a genuine surprise and fit with all the established facts they had been setting up. The villain's backstory, Area 62, Pop's connection with the site, and how he didn't want to talk about what happened to her parents. It's all handled very well.
Although, like I said before, I do feel like, when we see the flashback to when Pop first gets Amelia as a baby from her parents, I do wish that that's in that scene, it wouldn't have been like they could have distorted Tarek's voice so that it wouldn't be too obvious that he's her father or whatever. I feel like the execution of that could have been a little better. Like conceptually I like it, it's just I feel like the execution could have been a little better, but, again, I can't complain too much. I still liked it.
Secondary subplot ties in with Ollie and the growing romance between them throughout the show. What
Yeah.
started out as arguments between them about their very different viewpoints grew into genuine affection, and consequently why Ollie's later remarks that dismissed her beliefs or seemed to not care about her views at all were so hurtful to her. But let's get into Ollie. Like Ion, he's overconfident, but this comes from a general arrogance about his own intelligence and belief in rationality and science above all else. He's tech-oriented and indeed smart. When he was younger, he attended a science academy, and we get some very well-crafted storytelling in the episode New Leaf that expands on that. Ollie spent a lot of his time at the science academy working with his teacher. He assumed at the time that he was just so smart that the professor wanted to be best buds with him. Until the professor makes it very clear what was actually happening. His arrogance put off all the other students, and nobody else wanted to work with him.
You think you have all the answers, so you never listen. No one likes to know it all.
Because when you're an asshole, it doesn't matter how right you are, nobody wants to give you the satisfaction.
This revelation is
Yeah.
a serious turning point for him,
Yeah,
both
yeah.
in his attitude and his relationship with Amelia. No longer so quick to dismiss her views, even apologizing to her for the way he treated her. And is even willing to help with the scientific investigation of a ghost sighting in the episode The Hunt. After all, Amelia is not
Right.
against science, she just believes that there are things out there that science has yet to explain. As a side note, we also have the episode Cut Off, where the Rangers are taking a camping
yeah,
trip
I love
and
that
he's
one.
bringing along a bunch of gadgets and tech. I was so thankful that the episode did not have a message about, like, oh, you need to disconnect from technology and go back to nature. It's
Yeah.
annoying and frustrating,
100%.
especially as someone who hates camping. In fact, all the gadgets and tech he brought along helped save the day.
Yeah.
Sure, some of the devices are a little silly, but they do work. Though in the case of the auto-rocking hammock, that's Zato's fault for setting it too high. Izzy's primary arc is a romantic one, but
Yeah, no, I like that episode a lot where they go camping and Ollie shows off all his different inventions and they do end up like helping them out quite a bit. I really like that episode a lot. That's definitely one of my favorites. And yeah, that bit with the hammock was like a genuinely funny moment. I feel like the humor in this season and I guess in both these seasons work best when it's just the Rangers and not Jane and Jay Borg. I'll get into my own personal thoughts on them after this part is over, after the video is technically over, and yeah. I'll get to them, don't you worry.
she has a ton of episodes focusing in on her as a character. A somewhat strained relationship with her mother because Izzy is tomboyish and doesn't enjoy girly things, while her mother is a fashion designer who insisted on having her model for her when she was younger. Her relationship with her father and cousin relating to her athleticism, Gordon
Yeah.
Garcia pushing her to be
That's
the
a good
best,
one.
and consequently her pushing herself to the point of being frustrated with her cousin when she thinks she's blowing off her training. And that while she is great at the athletic parts of school, she doesn't do so well in other stuff, like learning about electronics for one of her high school classes.
Fair.
We also get a great message episode for the younger audience about predatory businesses. In this case, a gym that Izzy wants to get into, run by a famous
I
athlete,
love that episode.
who it turns out is running a scam, doing very little work, nickel and diming the attendees for stuff like expensive uniforms and equipment, and lying to them about their own skills and progress for her own benefit. It's good, modern messages to get kids prepared for beyond pollution bad.
Yeah.
It's kind of ironic that Izzy, the only character who's still in high school throughout the season, gets some of the most mature storyline stuff when it comes to her romance with Fern. They start out as athletic rivals. Love this shot of them glaring at each other on the track field. Very Luigi and Mario Kart vibes. But soon start dating. In the run-up to the end of the season, we have the episode Things Unspoken, where we learn that Fern has to move away to college for an athletics program Izzy wanted to get into. It's revealed that Izzy already got in, but she decided to turn it down for the sake of her ranger duties. After Fern says the big "I love you" to Izzy, she then learns that Izzy turned down the program, which would have kept them together. In the end, Izzy tells her the truth about being a ranger, and of course, they plan to do a long-distance relationship.
May the power protect you.
God damn, people. I melted into a puddle from that moment.
Yeah,
oh, and by the way,
same.
Izzy and Fern, first on-screen kiss between a couple in 25 goddamn years.
Right.
Not really anything I can say about Solon.
Yeah.
She kind of serves as a quasi-mentor role.
Granted, it's on the cheek, but hey, I guess just like in the earlier in the video, that clip from Ghostbusters 2.
Well, better late than never.
It's something, I guess. It could have been a little more like, yeah. I mean, I'm not saying they need to French kiss each other, obviously, but you know, just like a peck would be nice. Or I guess, well, wait, was the show still on Nickelodeon at the time when they did that? I forget. Future Mark, fact check me. There we go. Also, I mean, I'll mention this more again once Linkara is done talking. There's a really great episode where Izzy and Fern are going to prom, and they get their outfits mixed up. Sorry, I'll talk about it more after this. Sorry. It's, you know, my brain can be a bit fried, so yeah.
A couple of times. In particular, advising Amelia on how to get over her belief in bad luck and superstition strikes, but otherwise, she was more the alpha of the season, with the team not really having an official mentor.
Yeah.
Dino Fury is a great season. A bit overblown by the fan base, in my opinion, but definitely worth a watch, especially in Season 2. This was a good team with good villains, interesting character dynamics, and a lot of enjoyable lore drops.
Yeah.
But for the first time in a very long time, we're not done with this team. We'll see how our heroes continue their journey, the 30th anniversary of Power Rangers, and what Zed has in store for them next time in Power Rangers Cosmic Fury.
Mm-hmm. Can't wait to do that one.
Hey, we need help. I can see that.
I love that part. Alright, there we have it. Linkara's History of Power Rangers Dino Fury. Now, I personally really enjoyed Dino Fury. You know, I mentioned this already, but the two main factors that got me interested in watching it were the return of Lord Zed, and of course, the introduction of Izzy being the first gay Power Ranger in the show's history. I just mentioned, of course, there's an episode where Izzy and Fern are going to the prom together. They're getting their outfits, and Izzy's mother designs clothes and likes to make outfits for Izzy, although in the past she would make dresses for her when obviously Izzy is not really into that sort of thing. And so when Izzy and Fern are getting their outfits together for their high school prom, there's a mix-up and Izzy ends up getting a dress, which she really does not want. And she ends up throwing it away, and then later on in the episode, she confronts her mother about it. And it's a really, really beautiful scene that I feel like a lot of people, having seen that, were like, yeah, no, why couldn't we have that? It got the show a GLAAD award for positive representation in children's media, which is a big deal. You know, for any major show to, especially for a show that's been around as long as Power Rangers, to receive that kind of honor is a big deal. And obviously with that sort of honor comes some form of quote-unquote blowback from parents who are like, I don't want my child exposed to this. Oh, I don't want my child to know about this sort of thing. Which, you know, I like to remind them, you do know that the original Blue Ranger is gay, right? What? I wish you didn't tell me that. Oh, I will never show my child Power Rangers again. Oh. Go cry me a river, bigots. But yeah, no, I love the dynamic between Izzy and Fern. They're a really genuinely likable couple, and really looking forward to revisiting the moments with them when Linkara talks about Cosmic Fury. Hello, Mark from 6 Months Later here to help wrap this whole thing up. By the way, my voice is a little on the gravelly side, so I apologize in advance for that. I really do, but, you know. Anyway, let's proceed.
Personally, I disagree with what Lewis said about Season 1 of Dino Fury being not as good as Season 2. Given what we know now about the limitations forced on the production team by Saban and Nickelodeon, the fact that Season 1 of Dino Fury turned out as well as it did, especially with the Izzy and Fern reveal, is a testament to said team and how they were able to work under those limitations while still being able to breathe new life into the franchise. That said, I do want to talk about the one aspect of both seasons that I really did not like, and that's Jenna and Jayborg. I never found them to be funny, like, at all. And while I'm sure the actors playing them are nice people, I found their characters to be really annoying every time they were on screen. Obviously, they're meant to be the bulk and skull of these two seasons, with slapsticky shenanigans happening to them and all that. But going off of what Lewis said, that sort of thing works best when it's bully characters getting their comeuppance. It's really not as funny if it's someone who isn't set up to be unlikable compared to Bulk and Skull, who at first was set up to be bullies, unlikable, that sort of thing. Now, I don't mind slapstick at all. I really don't. I just feel like if it's not set up correctly, or the timing is off, or it feels forced, it just ends up being really, like, grating to watch. And this isn't nostalgia talking. Like, I do genuinely think that Paul Schreier and Jason Narvey had good comic timing, and they worked off each other really well. The actors who played Jenna and Jayborg, they just did not have that same kind of chemistry. Like, it's kind of hard to describe verbally, but, like, it's one of those things where you can tell certain people have, like, really good delivery and are good at that sort of thing, and some people aren't. Like, Bulk and Skull, Schreier and Narvey, they had it. These two, they really did not have it at all, if you ask me. In fact, this is going to be a really, really obscure point of reference I'm about to pull, but just hear me out here. Performance-wise, Jenna and Jayborg feel like the kinds of actors that would do, school assemblies that are meant to teach kids lessons like, say no to drugs and prevent bullying, that sort of thing. Like, what were those? DARE programs, yeah. In fact, ironically enough, I think Power Rangers used to do a lot of DARE programs back in the 90s, so, there you go. But yeah, it just, that's what it felt like. The kinds of performers who try way, way too hard to be funny, whose level of performance feels like it's aimed at an audience of preschoolers, but in actuality they're performing for preteens and middle schoolers. And speaking from memory and personal experience, believe me, there is no audience more judgmental than a crowd of preteens. Like, trust me on that, okay? If you bomb in front of them, they will never let you hear the end of it. Like, I mean, they might still laugh at you, but not for the reasons that you want them to. This shit sucks, bro.
Cody Miller, that's the last straw. Go to the principal's office right now.
Hopefully you get my point, but other than that, I still really, really enjoyed Dino Fury a lot, and me from 6 months ago will now tell you why.
Long story short, I really enjoy Power Rangers Dino Fury. I think it was a season where it felt like the show was starting to take more steps in the right direction in terms of moving the show forward, where I feel like there have been seasons, especially during the 2010s, where it feels like the show was stuck in the 90s in terms of its sensibilities and the writing, especially Megaforce. Oh god, especially Megaforce, where that season and Super Megaforce felt like a step backwards. Whereas I feel like Dino Fury and soon to be Cosmic Fury, those to me I feel like were steps forward in the right direction in terms of keeping the show modern without it feeling too like hackneyed, I guess. So yeah, kudos to the cast of Dino Fury, primarily Tessa Rao, who I have so much respect for, I hope she gets to be in more stuff like outside of New Zealand. Like whatever she has next in her career, I hope gets to be shown outside of New Zealand because I want to see more stuff with her in it. She's terrific. I really do like Tessa Rao. Ooh boy, look at that runtime. Okay, time to wrap this up, Mark. Tell them what's coming up next, okay? After this will be my reaction to History of Power Rangers Lightspeed Rescue, parts 1 and 2. And then after that, my reaction to History of Power Rangers Cosmic Fury. Apparently that video is like an hour and 25 minutes long, so that's definitely going to be cut into multiple parts. And then following that will be my reaction to History of Power Rangers Time Force. I'm actually planning a lot for that one specifically. It's not going to be like all the other reaction videos that I've done in this series. I'll be adding a lot of my own personal analysis and what have you, but you'll find out more about that later. And I promise to make sure that part 1 of the Lightspeed Rescue reactions will be out next Friday or even sooner. We'll see. I'll let you know, if that will be the case. Regardless, hope you're all having a nice holiday season. See you in 2025. Back to you, me from 6 months ago. Let me know what you thought of Dino Fury in the comments down below. Did you like that season? Did you not like it? Let me know in the comments. And as always, if you like what you saw here, feel free to click that thumbs up button, share this video with your friends, and if you haven't already, please do subscribe and click the little notification button down at the bottom. That way you'll know when my next video will be up. So, until next time, I'm Marc Aquino. Thank you all so much for watching. I'll see you next time. Don't forget to click below to subscribe to the official Marc Aquino YouTube channel.